Hello and welcome to Beasts and Beyond. I'm your host, Asherz. Joining me this week is Zuul. Zuul, welcome.
Hey,
So excited to have you here. I'm excited because I like what you're doing here. I like that we are taking a break from the monotony of real life monsters and just kind of deep dive in the lore of something fun, something near and dear to my heart, and that is horror in general. And I might be mistaken, but I think that you're also a horror fan. Is that right?
absolutely. I live, breathe, and bleed horror.
I wouldn't have guessed. No, this is a fun topic, right? This is fun for me. My job is fun. Okay, picking apart different real life monsters, it is really fun, but this is different. So I'm, like I said, super excited to give you guys something a little bit different. Hopefully you all enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed digging into it. Now, disclaimer, you guys already kind of know what we're talking about because of the title of the episode, but I'm just going to say if you have not seen Jeepers Creepers and you are going to go watch Jeepers Creepers, that's fine and wonderful and great. I don't say this often, but pirate it or buy a secondhand copy because the director is a pedophile and you don't want to
Yeah,
support that. So,
yeah,
um, again, it is guilt free if you pirate it.
exactly.
So, there's that. Now, I will say, tons of people worked on this movie. It wasn't just him, right? Of course, support those people as long as they aren't caught, being a creeper themselves. Um, different
The
sense.
irony.
Um, yes, and some people say that this creature is actually based off of himself. Like he based it off of him, and I don't know. I'm not
Projection.
digging right. I'm not right. I'm not digging into that lore. That's totally up to you guys to come to terms with. But one creature that I definitely see mentioned a lot, especially in my proximity to Mothman research, is people. I've had people explain it like the creeper.
Yeah,
So
he reminds me of the descriptions of Mothman a lot
yeah,
in that, it has wings and he's like, I don't know,
he's like a guy, but not a guy.
a guy but not a guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel
He
like
doesn't
Mothman's
even have
everyone
like normal guy
closed.
anatomy. It's
Yeah.
weird, which
Yeah.
we'll get into.
Of course,
But
but then he's got other like fins. Anyway, we'll get
extra
into it.
nostrils.
Um, the creeper's weird. But anyway, like I said, definitely not an endorsement of Victor Salva himself. Fuck that guy.
Right.
But I mean, the creeper is a staple now in horror culture. He's become one of the guys. Just one of the guys. And I think that we can't deny that, right? So let's get into it. The backstory is very interesting. If you guys are not familiar, what we know just from viewing the first movie is that this is some type of creature who seems to, well, some type of demonic creature who seems to come around and feed every 23 years for 23 days. So I guess he hibernates during.
Cicada man.
Yeah, he's a cicada man, not the Mothman, but the cicada man. Yes, perfect. That makes a lot more sense. Um, when he's feeding on people, he is revitalizing himself. It's the fountain of youth. So he is chomping down body parts to fuel his own body parts, is what it seems to be happening here. If he is hurt during the time that he's awake again, I don't know what he does the other 23 years. But if he's hurt during that time while he's trying to chomp down on people, he just eats whatever body part of the new victim and he's
Like
fine.
a
Like,
like a cannibalistic axolotl.
yeah, it is. It's kind of, or a cannibalistic SpongeBob. SpongeBob is kind of like that too. Anyway, um, like I said, he is, the best way to describe the creature is, or I'm sorry, the creeper, we should just go ahead and call him that, is, he is demonic. We don't know exactly to what degree, but what we do know about him is that he's been around for a very, very long time.
Since like
Um,
Aztec times.
yeah, yes. So the earliest known occurrence of him is with the Aztecs, where they mistook him for a god and started worshiping him. So he actually didn't have to hunt during his time there because they were happily sacrificing people to him.
Yeah, they actually raised specific children to boys that they kept especially for feeding.
And life couldn't have been better for him. He was living the good life. I mean, the food had to come to him. What the hell would he do in his spare time? If he's not tracking people. So, he had a really good run with the Aztecs. There's also some history of him also having the same type of deal with the Cherokee.
Yeah, Native Americans believe that there's some rumor that he might be a Wendigo of sorts.
Which would, I mean, that checks out.
Mm-hmm.
Wendigos eat people. He eats people.
Well, yeah, and there's some discussion about the original authors that penned him in a way that he's supposed to have human origins, which Wendigos, if I'm not mistaken, are of human origin. They're people who did something wrong. Am I correct?
It can be. Some Wendigos are creatures themselves, and then there's like the Wendigo spirit, which seems to be the most prevalent, where the Wendigo possesses man
Mm-hmm.
and causes man to then, most of the time, it's cannibalize their families and things like that.
Yeah, so that kind of checks out. It
Yeah.
makes sense that
Mm-hmm.
he would come up in like Wendigo lore that way. And
Yeah.
then there's some talking about it when earlier we mentioned he has some unusual anatomy. When I was doing some research on the anatomy, there was some discussion about him possibly being puppeted. So that Wendigo theory makes some sense because its possession is kind of a form of puppeteering, demonic puppeteering.
Okay, I like that. Demonic puppeteering.
Like you're not really the thing that you see isn't what's really in charge of itself.
So, like, he's not actually sentient. Something
Yeah,
controlling him is.
something is controlling him. Yeah, there
That
was
is
some
interesting.
theories I came across like that too, and they were the alien theories, like that an alien creature is inside of like the head.
Like in the Men in Black where they open that guy's face and there's a tiny alien
Yeah.
inside.
Exactly.
I love that. I didn't hear this theory. I love that theory.
Yeah, it was an interesting theory, and I was like, there was some, and then it was interesting because it applies to the in some of the scenes in the movie where he dies. Like I think there's a scene where he is beheaded, and I'm trying to remember how that all took place, but like he's beheaded and
And a guy crawls out of the hole in his neck.
yeah, like his head
I don't
just
know if that happens.
grows right back, like
Oh, yeah.
kind of like an axolotl, or he
Gross.
takes someone else's head and just like puts it on, and then it just the cowl behind his head kind of reaches up and reabsorbs the new head.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that though. Love that. Yeah, the
The head is the
human
actual
origins.
creature, and everything else on it is human parts that need replacement.
Oh,
That's in my notes here about it.
interesting.
That's why he can
Okay.
take severe damage, but he doesn't die.
Interesting. Because they're not really hitting the right part.
Yeah,
That's
the rest of the parts are just puppeteering parts. The organism's actually inside the head, and it's the only thing that's not human. It's like a parasite that wraps the face.
it wraps around wraps around that.
Yeah.
But you see, right, when he does his like Jurassic Park thing where he throws his fins up, there's like that other part of his head. So that's the part that they're talking about? That is
Yeah.
the creature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's this like claw-like thing that comes up from like the back of the neck and like wraps across the face. There's a scene in the movie that correlated with some of this research where they showed like um, his head was cut off, so he takes the head of like another dead guy, pops it on, and then it becomes his face because that cowl like thing wraps around it. Um, and in addition to that, on that same video, they were talking about this was the alien theory about him being some kind of parasitical alien creature. And they said that the song that plays, the Jeepers Creepers song that plays whenever
Mhm.
he's in proximity, could be short range frequency abilities and electric radio interference, which is
Oh.
known to be signs of alien life. So that was all part of the alien theory, was uh, that he interrupts radio waves and short wave radio communication, as well as the theory that he's a little parasitical creature that lives inside the head.
Well, so far this is my favorite theory. Let me go ahead and we'll wrap up the history, and then we'll talk about, we'll postulate a little bit. So a little other things to note is that allegedly the creeper is the one at fault for the Roanoke disappearance.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
Yep, he is fully responsible for that. That is canon in the comics that you can read about him. And then he is also somehow responsible for the fire that is still ongoing to this day in Centralia, Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
Um, again, canon, all based off of the comic. So if you're just a movie watcher, you may not have caught all of these. There is a little bit more to it.
So is this similar to the legend that whenever Mothman is seen, a large disaster follows? So like whenever, now I want to call him Cicada Man, whenever
Yeah,
he's
Cicada
seen
Man.
some sort of horrible natural or unnatural rather disaster happens.
Um, Well, I mean, like clearly it does, because the only reason why Cicada Man shows up is to like eat people, right, and cause terrible death and things like that. But similar to Mothman is more seen of like a, well, which still isn't accurate, but the legend goes that he is more of a warning system for people that tragedy is going to strike, rather than the cause of,
Harbinger
yeah, rather than the cause of the tragedy itself, whereas, the creeper causes
is
it.
cause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Cause
causes,
related. He's the actual
yeah, causes
reason
the
it's happening.
destruction. I think that I like the alien theory, man. That's really solid right there. Because everything that I've read is just pretty much confirmed that he is demonic and left it at that. When you say something's demonic, like, you can do that. You can be like, "It's fine." That makes sense. That checks out. My issue with the guy is this. Okay, so we know that he regenerates body parts by eating people. So what is he eating to regenerate his wings?
Hmm.
Because humans don't have wings.
Cicadas.
But
Thus why he arrives every 23 years
that's what
from eating cicadas. It's a
he
side
didn't
effect.
he didn't used to have wings, but he ate one cicada one time, and now he's like, well, I kind of like this.
Yes, and now it's just a part of the staples of his diet. It is a good question. For that matter, what I find frustrating about the fellow, and what even drove me to even investigate this topic, because honestly, I'm one of the few people in the horror industry who doesn't actually like Jeepers Creepers. I actually like it better now that I've investigated it than I did watching it the first time as
Fair
just a
enough.
casual watcher. And my problem with the creature was this. If he's got wings, why the fuck does he need a truck?
I agree with that. Like, what? Yes, let's talk about this for a minute. Yeah, because so everybody always, like, there's the social media post, you've seen it, ever the meme, and it's like, well, how did he register a license, his license plate, and it's customized even, right? How did he
Right.
get a hold of this truck,
Yeah,
um,
he just strolls into the DMV with his
with himself?
fucking wings under a trench coat and like
Yeah, and he's like, I need
sticks
a
his
license.
bug ass eyes up to the little fucking thing and is like does the vision test and passes it.
Yeah, passes. He got fresh eyes that morning, so they're good.
Just
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
Well, I could buy that he stole that
Stole a
truck.
truck.
Right. I could, and
Exactly.
I can explain that one away, right? He fucking stole the truck
He
and he just
stole.
found the truck that says, well, they say, be eating you, but I think beating you is probably what it is.
Actually, there's a theory on that one too. That's related to the Japanese lore behind it. That he's a Datengu, and that
Hmm.
says B.A. Tengu. B.A. Tengu, which a Tengu is a Japanese demon.
Mhm. Interesting. Well,
So
I
it
could,
may say B.A. Tengu.
you know, that would make sense, but the reason why it doesn't is because they call it out in the movie, right? They're like beating you, and then they're like, "Oh, it's be eating you." Why wouldn't they then be like, "It's
Yeah,
B A
yeah.
Tengu"?
True, true, true.
But again, I could buy the fact that he fucking stole this truck from somebody. Like, look, this guy eats people. Like, you know, what is it? Grand Theft Auto is not beyond his scope. Like, he's obviously a criminal. Like,
Yeah, that vanity plate could be beat NGU and it's like a university somewhere.
it
And
could be.
it's not even his vanity plate. It's
Yeah.
just the guy he ate who owned the truck before him.
Well, and like he could have, so like he could have stolen the truck, and then went and stole the vanity plate too. He saw it and he's like, "I want that." Ripped it off someone's fucking car. You know what? We don't know. Like I said, that I can
He's a
explain away.
hardcore criminal.
Yeah,
Who
right.
knows what he's up to?
Right. He's like, obviously, like I said, he does crime. Like, we know that.
But
And
why? But why does he need a truck?
right.
I don't.
Why?
I'm not so much curious as to how he got the truck. Because yeah, if
He's
you're
not great at driving. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to run those people off the fucking road, and like, it's not that difficult to figure out how to drive on like country roads anyway.
it probably is when you're part cicada. Like,
Yeah, I don't think his seatbelt probably fits with those wings.
yeah, it's probably a very difficult task. You ask a fish to climb a tree, you're gonna have problems. You ask a demon cicada god to drive a truck, he's gonna have some challenges.
So yeah, but I agree. Like, why not just fly everywhere like that?
That's my problem with it altogether.
That would be faster, right? There's no traffic. I
Smarter.
mean, smarter, right? You can fucking fly. We
They
can't. We
can't
gotta use
hear you or see
cars.
you coming that way. I got this old beat up rusty ass truck. I can hear you coming a mile away.
Right, now we all know. Yeah. And then you gotta go through the hassle of like stealing the truck and stealing the vanity plate and doing all that.
Putting gas in your truck.
Right. And
I
like
mean, just for
even
the sheer savings on gas alone, if I had wings.
how's he getting gas in it? He doesn't have money. I guess he steals the money. I don't know. He steals the gas.
I mean, if you're killing people, you probably have access to their wallets. So, I
That's
mean, like I
true.
said, where he's not above crime. So, as to how he gets the resources for these things, obviously crime. But, but why?
Yeah.
Just senseless crime.
Well,
And it just seems like so much effort on his part.
right. And he goes and he takes up occupancy at this church, right? This like isn't that what it is in the first movie? It's like an abandoned church.
Yeah.
And we see that like the underground of it, he's got like this whole like project, this whole art installation that he's put in the basement of dead people. And so like and then all the way up to until the end of the movie. Again, if you're watching or if you're listening to this rather, and you have not seen the movie, this is your fault for getting spoilers, but whatever. At the end of the movie, we see that he is like sewing these people in different ways. He's like making art out of them, and that shows like a very human aspect to his personality. So he's not just like a creature that comes in and in order to sustain his life has to feed, right? He also likes arts and crafts. Which is what's up with that? Like, I guess you got to kill your time somehow.
I mean, birds decorate their nests. So,
true.
Maybe it's just like his winged creature instinct to make his nest pretty. Maybe he's trying to make it pretty for a mate. Does he
Could
have a
be.
mate?
I don't think so. I've heard of a
They've
lady
never talked about
creeper.
a mate. But I'm like, is he just a lone creature?
Maybe he might be single and not so ready to mingle. Maybe that's why he took up
Hey,
sewing. He's
creeper,
trying
if you're
to.
out there and you're single.
My phone number is. Yeah, but like, and then on top of that, this woman. Okay, the first movie. I've seen the first movie. I've seen the second movie. It's been a long time. I've never seen anything after that. I'll be honest. Um, the first movie, there's like this woman that is trying to hunt down the two kids that are now the next victim of the creeper, or at least the one is, and trying to like warn them. Well, first of all, this lady's a bitch, she gets them on the phone the first time by calling a payphone that they happen to be at because she happens to be psychic and she happens to know that they are in grave danger. And instead of just like straight up being like, listen to me, there is a monster that is fucking coming for you, she's just like singing the fucking Jeepers Creeper song to him. And she doesn't really, she's like speaking in like cryptic tone, and she doesn't really, and she eventually she shows up at the jail and she tells them a little bit more, but like had she just told them like up front, they could have at least had the chance to like get the fuck out of Dodge, and now they're going to jail. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on the psychic lady?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a lot of thoughts on her other than that she did a really bad job in the movie of being a good warning system.
Yeah, she's no Mothman.
Yeah, she's no Mothman. She just doesn't have what it takes.
No. No, yeah, no, she's terrible. And then like that's never really like nobody ever really explained like okay, I guess the explanation is that again she's psychic and she just kind of has the knowing. But it's like, but does she have a history with this creature? Like,
My question is, weren't they anticipating this? I mean, we've got
yes.
articles months in advance about the oncoming cicadas that we know are coming this
Right.
summer. How do we not know that it's time? It comes every 23 years religiously. You should know. It should just be like on your calendar.
23 years like isn't a long time. Like,
yeah, it's not really that long for you to have for your entire ancestry to have forgotten that this thing's coming back to eat us.
Right, like constantly, and then like from what we know from the movie, again, he's got this whole like fucking underground basement of all the evidence, right? Oh, he killed all these missing fucking people. Here they all are. I mean, you're telling me that nobody's ever found this, but I think they did. He did burn down the church or something in the first movie, but like, yeah, I mean, you're just telling me that we don't know. Us humans don't know. People were worshiping this thing, right? Back with their ancestors, and we have no idea. We've never fucking tied those two together.
Yeah. Well, granted, people are not that smart, but and I think in the movie, was it him that burned the church down at the end, or was it the people burned it down because he was in it and they thought they could get rid of him forever?
That
they
it
burned
was
it down.
so Derry, the main character guy, is like telling the two cops at the diner, he's like, you need to go there and go check. There's all these bodies down there. Like, go look at it. And then when the other police show up at that, they're like, well, it's on fire.
So now we don't know.
Yeah, it's on fire. Sorry. But then like he does like, so the creeper, at the end of the movie shows up at the jail, and all these fucking people see this. All these people see this happen. All these police officers, these credible people see this happen, and they all act fucking surprised, like, oh, never heard of this before. Even though it happens every 23 years for 23 days, and it's, I guess I don't know where the lore took off from there, in all fairness, because I didn't watch the newer movies. Maybe people did start taking it seriously after that, but maybe they didn't, because hey, small town hicks are gonna small town hick, right? They don't talk about that stuff
every 23 years. They just don't tell the next generation. They have this ongoing cyclic curse of just, we don't talk about it, so we don't tell the next generation, and then we're surprised when our kids get eaten.
It reminds me of like the boomers that get so fucking mad when they close school, and they're like, "Back when I was a kid, we walked and 15 miles," and it's
Back
like,
when I was a kid, we had a cicada man who came around and ate half the city.
right.
But we don't talk about that
We don't
shit.
talk about I had to watch it. Now you do too, son. Like that's what like they think that I don't know. Like I have to live with that guilt. So now it's up to you too. As I mean, I guess that checks out. I'll be honest. As terrible as it is to say, that logic does kind of check out a little bit. Um,
And what
yeah,
possesses this thing to just stop at 23 days? How does this, first of all, how does this thing know that it's been 23 days? Is it like a hormonal thing? Is it like, how does it know?
he probably just goes to the drugstore and steals a calendar and like marks it
It's
off.
actually using old school method of just marking off the calendar.
Yeah, he's using the calendar. He can use fucking cars and does arts and crafts. Why not? I could see him as a planner person, a person with the planner. No, that's a good question. Like, why does it have to be like? Well, again, where does he go? I mean, what does he do for 23 years? Is
I don't
he
know.
here? Is he in hell? Is he an alien? Is he back on his planet?
So one of the theories about what he is too that's out there. This was one of my pet theories that I love the most because I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Is that he is a creature like Pennywise, and
Okay.
because of the time lapse, Pennywise comes every so many years too. So that time lapse, he's picky about his victims, similar behavior, and there was at the end of it, Pennywise was pregnant, and the theory is that the creeper is a spawn of it.
That's interesting.
They have a cinematic demon relationship that suits the creature. So
I
it was an interesting theory. I was like,
that no, that is that's a good point, right? Because in Pennywise's world, in our world, there's time, but in Pennywise's, it's just like the next day, right? And so for Pennywise, there's not really a lapse in time. So maybe he runs on.
But then the second it was years later, like, and it might have even been 23. I'm not entirely certain. But yeah, I know 23 is used in a lot of movies in reference to. There were some things I came across on that too. The significance of the number 23. There really wasn't anything to find on that other than that it happens to show up in a lot of movies referencing demonology, and Victor Salva did it just because he thought it was a cool number. So,
Cool number, man.
exactly.
He did it because that's when I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. That's low hanging fruit. You know what?
Because
Just leave it
it's
as it
the
is.
age limit
Yeah,
of his
yeah,
girl.
that's his maximum. The maximum age we'll go for. Ooh,
23 years.
yeah, no more than that. Jesus. Anyway, yeah, I guess I didn't really question like why 23, like because that is kind of a weird number, but I do agree that you do see it in a lot of tropes. Um, Jim Carrey was in that one movie, Room 23 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe it
No,
wasn't
I
called
think it
that.
was it was actually about the number 23.
Number 23, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. I didn't watch that one, so I don't know. I remember the
It
cover.
was weird. It was really strange.
Yeah, I've heard that about Jim Carrey in general.
Yeah.
No,
Very fitting for Jim Carrey.
no, the Pennywise theory is interesting to me. So even though it was between when the kids, are kids and then they're adults, there is like I said, in our world, there's a time lapse, right? Time passes by, but to
Yeah.
Pennywise, it does not.
It was just a day. So, and that's a possibility for the creeper too. I mean, maybe he doesn't need a calendar because to him it was just that he took a nap and his next day when he woke up is 23 years later, for us.
He's like, oh, I guess it's about that time. Kind of hungry.
I
Um,
mean, and then does he stay up for the whole 23 days? Because I don't recollect ever like
him
them catching
sleeping.
him asleep
Yeah,
somewhere. He's not
that's a
like
good.
hanging upside down in the church or something taking a nap.
And he's not
So,
like constantly killing people. So it's like, yes, he does have a pretty large body count. We can see that, right, from the first movie in his little trophy room. And he wasn't, his cycle wasn't over, in that first movie. As far as we know, he was still very much alive at the end of it. So I don't know when his cycle ended. His cycle, Jesus, like
like he's on his cycle.
he's having his cycle.
You wouldn't like him when he's on his
When
rag.
he's on his
He gets
cycle.
really hangry and kills people.
Yep. he's, he's got cravings. It's monstrous. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We don't see him, but maybe that's why he took up arts and crafts, because he's just trying to, like I said, he's just trying to pass the time. He's got nothing else to do. I mean, why else would he be? I don't get that part. Like, that part bugs me so much. Like, why is he keeping these people as trophies? Like, for what reason? For why?
Are they trophies or are they like spare parts for later? For like the interim in that 23 years. So this
It
is
could
like
be.
kind of like how people will pickle canned goods, Maybe he's just keeping them for storage,
Pickling people. Pickled
pickling
people.
people.
Well, he could be right. So maybe during, I don't, maybe this was like, instead of, he wakes up every 23 years and eats for 23 days, maybe it's that's when he harvests, not
Yeah,
when he's
yeah.
active. So
And
he's
then
always active.
yeah, and then he hibernates. This isn't a bad plan. Like then you hibernate for 23 years with the storage of your kill, your
No,
goods.
I mean, this is where it kind of would make sense to me that because there is, another timeline that comes into play where allegedly he did used to be a person, like a human
Yeah.
man, and the
Well,
human man
that's
is like
and that
cursed.
like I said, that's in behind the Native American folklore of the Wendigo situation is like he's a cursed soul of some sort, um, that he was a human.
Yeah. So, I mean, what a horrible existence. Most of it you sleep. And then the only time that you're allowed to be awake, you have to eat people.
I mean, I can kind of relate. I don't eat people, but I'm missing a lot of organs, and I'm thinking about
Well,
this plan. I'm like,
it might work. I
if I
know. You ever
just
tried it?
if I just ate a pancreas, maybe maybe
Uh,
I would grow a new one.
yeah, that's how it works. That's
Hmm.
kind of, like, I guess I don't get that, because when we come up, like, what is happening to his body where he's becoming so damaged that he has to eat people? Is it that he's eating people because he has to regenerate himself? Because he seems to kill a lot of people and eat parts of them that aren't damaged on himself.
Yeah, unnecessary parts, like just for pleasure.
Just right, just because. Like, I remember distinctly the part where in the first movie where the cop's head gets chopped off and he picks up the head and starts, like, well, we thought he was making out with it, but he wasn't. He was just eating the tongue. I mean, well, like, he had a tongue, right? I mean, we didn't see his tongue get damaged. Like, why even add that in there?
Right, right. So,
Shock
yeah, what was the
factor?
purpose of that? Like, just because you felt like
Tongues are
making out
tasty?
with that cop?
Right. But, well,
As an
again, we've already
afterthought?
established there's no lady creeper so far, so
So
he's probably
maybe,
lonely.
maybe we're onto something here too. Maybe the creeper is dealing with some latent homosexuality issues,
That
and
has been something brought up and the theory circle, because most of the kills that we see him do are men, young men. But there are a lot
is
of
that
female bodies too that we see.
Yeah, and what's he doing with those? Because he doesn't have breasts. So he's clearly
True.
not using those parts. And I know if I were the kind of monster who could generate parts by eating parts of other people, I would definitely be eating me some nice
You'd have
titties.
titties. Yeah, you'd have
Yeah,
titties, right.
because I would
Nice.
want some nice titties for myself.
Very, very true. And then you could just, I mean, you could like switch out your genitalia, right? If you want penis one day
Right?
and vagina the next, like you could do that.
Yes.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Wow.
I
That just
mean,
opens up a whole new doorway for gender fluidity for this creature.
it's too bad that the movie was made by a pedophile because, honestly, that could be a staple, in the trans community. I mean, it could be some type of good representation. Well, I guess
We
not
have
good
a
representation, but
yeah, we have a monster who can switch out his genitalia.
anytime he wants to.
Freddy Krueger's there for the burn victims, representing.
Right.
And we got the creeper over here. He representing for the gender fluid crew.
Nothing for all the genders. Yeah, I mean, there's something for everybody. I guess that's more actually Leatherface would probably be more for he cross dresses. That's not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's for the drag community.
That's for the drag community. Um yeah, I mean, it's weird, but when you're a horror fan, you do I mean, you
Edward Scissorhands, I believe he would be, on the spectrum somewhere.
just wherever you feel like you need representation, you just turn to Edward Scissorhands. He's for all of us.
So-
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, well, so if the creeper's an alien and it's like an alien parasite that lives on the back of his neck, I guess maybe it doesn't have genitals unless it wants them.
right. Well, and would genitalia even matter if you were this asexual alien parasite hell bent on feeding via the use of a human host?
Yeah,
Would you really give a shit if your human host was female or male? Would it matter?
true. That's true. But I mean, and like, oh, we didn't touch on his like he does wear clothes. For the first like little bit of the
Yeah, why does he
movie.
wear clothes?
Right, we're like led to believe that this is a guy. This is like some psycho guy until he makes out with the cop, and then we understand. Well, even then, I think we think it's a guy. It's when we see his wings, we're like, oh, okay, it's not.
Yeah, it's when he unfolds the damn wings.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what? The son of a bitch could have flown the whole time?
right. He could have flown over them. Well, maybe he did. I don't think he tracked him with the car. I think he did fly over them when during that particular scene. But yeah, I mean the whole time he just could have flown to people, and that's that. Um, yeah, I mean, where does he get his clothes? I guess he could have stolen them from. We've established that he's a career criminal. Um, does he ever change it up? Like, because it seems like in the other movies, and again, I haven't watched them, but he's still wearing that same
The
outfit.
same
Like,
outfit.
fuck, he's just like, bro, I got that drip. Like, that's what he thinks. Like, that's what he thinks is like fashionable all the time. I guess he just really like. I mean, why not change your clothes? Where does he keep them for 23 years?
That's the weird thing about movie monsters in general. They are like, they lack the human aspect of costume changes.
Yeah,
Freddy
right.
Krueger is always wearing that same dirty green and red sweater.
Well,
Like
he was
he
killed in
doesn't
it.
have
That
any
makes
others.
sense. No, he doesn't. Like I said, that makes sense because he was killed in that outfit. Like, so that's what he's
Fair
doomed to
enough.
wear forever. You know what I
Fair
mean?
enough. Yeah, because we all know whatever you die in is what you're stuck in for the
Of
rest of your
course.
existence.
We've seen other slashers like procure their outfits, like Jason and Michael. Right? We see them get their outfits.
Right.
Freddy just, he's doomed to. Yeah, it was Christmas.
Doomed to
I
that
guess.
ugly sweater for
Yeah,
the
it
rest
was,
of his existence as a monster.
it was the Christmas sweater his grandma got him. He was being nice for once. Such an unlucky
And then
day.
he had to die in it. In that ugly ass Christmas sweater. Poor guy.
mean, in all fairness, Freddy Krueger was also a pedophile, so it kind of
Yeah, so he kind of
deserves that.
deserved it. Whatever.
But yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't get a costume change until he got a slight upgrade in New Nightmare when he had, guess what, a trench coat and a hat.
A trench coat and a hat.
But that wasn't really Freddy Krueger. We'll do Freddy Krueger one of these days, I'm sure. I mean, we'll get around all these guys. But yeah, it wasn't really Freddy. It was
the classic trench coat and a hat that even the Creeper had. The Creeper had the trench coat and the hat.
And the hat. Well, maybe they're related because, again, that Freddy was not Freddy. It was a demon.
They all shop at the same monster store. Like,
where they sell trench coats and hats.
The Monster Gap, where you go to get your trench coats and hats.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Hell has one store, and this is what they sell.
Trench coats and hats all around.
They're like, the Gaps calls you, and they're like, "We got some new stock in." They're like, and you're like, "Oh," you go down there.
Trench coats and hats.
It's just more trench coats and hats, same color. God damn it. Yeah, but I mean, no, seriously, like what, and on top of that, when he goes to hibernate, where does he go? Does anybody ever establish? Does he just like dig a grave?
My theory on that is he goes to the tunnels under France. Those what are they called?
The catacombs?
The catacombs. Because there's so many, and you would never find anybody down there.
Well, that's true. And he also kind of, that's kind of what we see him build.
What a better place to vacation than France? He just, I don't know. I don't know where he goes realistically, but that's where I like to imagine he goes.
It was like the one shot. And like, I did watch the most recent, or I'm sorry, I watched the first movie kind of recently when we did the research, the research for this episode. And so I didn't see this scene in there, but I distinctly remember a scene where there's like teenagers or like young adults that are like, let's see it. And like this guy takes him up to a barn where he has like this winged, it looks like a mummified bat, like nailed up to it. And he's like, that's it. That's the thing. And it's like, wait, and again, maybe it was part of the second movie, and it's just I just remember that one scene from it.
No, you're right. It's like,
do you remember that scene?
Yeah, he becomes. It's implied that he just becomes an inanimate, mummified
bat creature.
Thing. Yeah.
Like he shrivels up
until the next arising. Yeah, like he shrivels up until the next arising. And then kind of like did you ever see Pumpkinhead?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like at the end of Pumpkinhead shrivels up and just becomes like a pumpkin.
Until
a rotten pumpkin.
Until he's needed again.
Until he arises again the next Halloween or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, one of those kind of demons that just shrivels up, dries up. And then if that happens, why don't they destroy him then? I saw some articles about theories on how to destroy him. And somebody said sending him in a rocket to the sun or pouring concrete over his remains to destroy him.
He's not strong enough for concrete.
Perhaps. I don't know.
But I mean, a rocket to the sun, I think that works. That
would definitely do it, unless you would wind up with like one of those Jeepers Creepers in Space sequels.
So we fucking shot COVID off into the sun, we would have been fine. The sun will destroy anything. But then, well, you're right. That's how we could do Jeepers Creepers in Space. Then the alien family that he comes from,
finds him out there and is like, what happened, son? How'd you wind up out here?
And they're like super wholesome and really likable.
Yeah. Thought we left you in a good place with plentiful food. Right. And this is what happens.
You could even have a penis or a vagina there, and here you are. You could have been living your best
in space.
And then they find a ship and take it out to get their revenge. Maybe he dies, right? The original Creeper dies, and his parents, aka Pennywise, gets revenge on humans because of it.
Yes.
That would be all I can imagine. The only image I have in my head now is like Pennywise as the clown, specifically Tim Curry, because of
Right,
course
right. That's the only Pennywise that, that's the best one.
breastfeeding the creeper, the full grown creeper,
Breastfeeding the creep.
breastfeeding the full grown creeper. Yeah, that's
That is a
that's
bad mental image, but it's great.
what I
Go to
mean.
sleep with that tonight, folks.
That that's his mother. Yeah, that's phew, my gosh, this has gone off the rails a little bit. Jesus. Um, let's bring it back into some type of reality here. So I guess for movie magic. Yeah, I don't know. I
Although I
mean,
do have interest in seeing the sequel of It, in which they tie these two storylines together,
yeah,
and we actually get to see on the big screen It breastfeeding the
breastfeeding
full-grown creeper.
the creeper. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know,
As like his That's how we rehydrate the dried out corpse of the creeper for his next coming,
oh
is with
yes,
It
mother's
breast
milk.
milk.
Yeah,
Now we can get back into line of something more realistic, but I do want to see that sequel. Somebody out there get to writing it.
somebody make it. Yeah. Because I mean, the maths, it kind of checks out for those two storylines
Yeah,
to be. And
yeah.
Stephen King does have a heavy hand, and Wendigo is something that he kind of talks about a lot in his
Yes.
books. It's a creature that's near and dear to his heart. So I mean, I could see these worlds merging.
Yeah,
Um,
they should. They really should. I think that would purify that line
oh yeah,
of movie, to
oh yeah,
remove it from the hands of a pedophile and put it in the hands of a god such as
yeah.
Stephen King.
I No, I think you're right. I think that could finally make it take off. I mean, they did have
Redemption.
they
Redemption
they
for the
keep
creeper.
trying to resurrect this series over and over and over again. And like I said, I understand why. The creature itself, the creeper, it is an interesting concept. But the problem is like now it's so far removed from the source material, and it should be, but nobody's like rewritten it in a good way.
Right.
It
Right.
just hasn't happened. And, will it ever
That
happen?
that was the shame behind the initial movie in the first place, because like I said, watching it as just a viewer and having done no research, having not read the comics, it had so many Swiss cheese holes in the whole
Yeah.
plot. And like you said, nobody's redone it well. Nobody's really done it well.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, to
has
begin with,
so
yeah.
many. The reason we can have this whole conversation about what really is this thing is because they left it so open ended and they left it so full of holes that there's plenty of room for the imagination to
Mhm.
wander all over the place as to what this thing is.
Yeah, no, I agree. Had they set it up with the first movie, right, and left it what it was, and then came out with a sequel that really got into what this thing is,
Yeah, the
okay,
history of the thing. Like,
right. So it's like,
dig in.
like Halloween and Halloween 2, right? They hold hands, right?
Right.
They go together, and they could have done this here, but well, again, the director is a total piece of shit, so he didn't deserve to do any more work. Period.
Right.
After, and again, he made this movie after all that happened.
Oh, I know.
He should have ever made it ever. But as a story, all that aside, morals aside, ethics aside, as a story, had the sequel then piggybacked off of it and really done it in a good way, then we could have seen this go in a much better direction. Now, instead, we have got all these different, I mean, they're basically different timelines. They don't really go together.
Right.
And nobody's doing it any justice. And, now I think we're up to like the fourth movie, I think is how many there
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think I've only seen, to be honest, the first two.
yeah, me too.
And
And
then
the second one I saw, like when it came out, when I was like a kid, I was like a teenager when that came out. So
yeah,
it's been a long time.
I tried to give it a second chance by watching the second one, and it wasn't that much better than the first one.
Yeah. No, I just remember they're all like trapped
I
on a
know the
bus
fourth
or
one is
something.
done by a different director, which maybe I need to give that a chance and see if he did any better with the storyline overall. But
Yeah.
as far as what kind of creature the creeper is. I think we're dealing with a bit of a parasitical demon of some sort.
I enjoy the alien theory. I really do.
Yeah, I think the alien theory is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, it brings a it brings an interesting flavor to it. There was recently okay, so I've recently refriended somebody from the local community out here that is kind of an oddball, a flat earther.
Oh, okay. Well, that's brave of you.
I know. I
Okay.
do this because I find it fascinating. I want to know why they think what they think,
I
and I
understand
want
that
to
perspective.
the
Yeah.
curiosity is what
Yeah.
lures me in. So, yeah, the scientific video about flat Earth and how it works and whatnot. But then the other day, and this ties into what we're talking about here, he had something about the demons released from the Euphrates River
Okay. All right.
that are alien in origin. All aliens that we may encounter are actually demons.
Okay. Well, I've heard this. I mean, just in general, I've heard people mention that before. Um,
This was a
that's
first for me. So I
yeah,
was
that's
like,
popular.
interesting.
It is. I don't necessarily agree with it because demons, I think, are they're negative entities, right? They're not good,
Right. And I don't
and
feel like aliens necessarily. I think there's a slippery slope there.
oh, sure, you can have good aliens and bad aliens,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah. I feel
humans.
like it's unfair to label them as demons.
Yeah, as being all bad people. Yes, and that's
Yeah.
my problem with it.
Without getting
Now,
to know them first.
are supernatural entities in general, like demons and ghosts and spirits, are they aliens? I could buy that.
Perhaps.
I
Now
could buy
see
that
that.
theory.
Yeah. Yeah. That I could sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
That is a fascinating subject. Are, supernatural entities and aliens of the same origin,
Mhm.
one and the same? Are they all time travelers? Are they all, that's an interesting theory there. But yeah, that's so it is possible that the creeper could be both a demon and an alien
If they're both the same
if
thing.
you're of the mindset that all aliens are demons from the Euphrates River or whatever.
Well, right. And it would totally make sense, for like ancient civilizations to worship an alien, right? They
Right.
don't know it's an
As
alien,
a
they're going to
deity.
see it, right,
Yeah.
as some type of deity. And so, I mean, I could definitely see, again, like you said, they're the same thing. It's just a bad alien instead of, you know, um, a good alien.
Yeah. I just feel like it unfairly labels the alien entities as bad before we know really what we're talking about
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
rude.
Yeah.
It's rude. It's like saying it's just a stereotype, right? It's just like any other
Eh,
stereotype that you
that
say.
comes from religion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the harmful
Um,
stereotypes that come from religion
yeah.
versus spirituality, which is an entirely different thing.
Hmm.
That,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily label things as good and bad, just that they exist.
Yeah. We don't understand it, so it's evil.
Yes, yes.
And that
So I feel
mindset
like
is
that's a
dangerous.
dangerous, slippery slope to
Yeah.
label all aliens as demons necessarily. We
Yeah.
don't really know enough about either one, for that
Hmm.
matter, to be making these kind of judgments. But yeah, my joke on that thread was just I posted in the comments, "I am not an alien. Please don't kill me," because his
Since you're a demon,
call
yeah.
to action was if you encounter aliens, we need to kill them because they are demons. And I was like, whoa, hey, hold on. I'm a demon. Does not necessarily make me an alien.
Right. The demon's here. Wait a minute. Um,
Please don't.
I agree that I I would like to see this turned into this franchise. I think would save itself by turning itself into a sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that would be really neat.
I really do feel like that's the angle they need to come at this monster with is take it to the realm of sci-fi because they lost the lore
Mm-hmm.
as far as cryptid goes somewhere in the muddy waters of what the origins of this thing were that they never really delved into. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah, that
agree.
would
And
be
I think that they should take a crack at it again. With new people, of course. It's just the issue is like if they do, it doesn't matter who directs it. Victor Salva still gets royalties from it. He still makes money off of it.
yeah,
And so that's the shitty part about it is like, yes, sir, you created an interesting creature. Two things can be true. You can be a pedophile and also be creative. It's
yeah,
possible,
yeah.
and unfortunately, this is the case with this thing. So,
You can
um,
be. There are so many artists who are total wastes of air as far as their as being human beings go, but their art in and of itself, um, you can't deny that it's compelling. Um, there's so many examples of that in the music in any art industry, but like
yeah,
the music industry and so forth. Just atrocious human beings who made wonderful art,
right, but are bad people,
but are
you
bad
know,
people.
and unfortunately, just
Such
I
a
don't.
catch 22.
Yeah, I know. It hurts your feelings when you find
Ethically
out they're bad
sourced
people.
art. Yeah, yeah, because it's um, especially when you find out after the fact,
Yeah, right.
because you've already invested your fandom
Hmm.
into these works of art that they've created, and then to find out that they're the actual monsters.
Right. Yeah. It
As
is.
Stephen King often says, monsters are real, but they are often human beings.
Yes, it is really fucking unfortunate. No, it really is. And but at the same time with all those other creators, I mean, so far the consensus has been, well, fuck them. Going forward, fuck those people. Don't consume their work anymore. And I agree. I'm very
Right.
much that person.
Don't purchase their
Um
work, pirate it.
Pirate it. Yes, that's where pirating comes in handy. Don't pirate the people that need it, right? Don't let me find out that you're pirating trauma films. I'm gonna be pissed.
Right.
Give Lloyd Kaufman your money, but
Yes, they put so much love and work into that.
they
Just pay
do.
for it.
Yeah, please. Right, it's cheap. Just go to do the Trauma Now subscription, $5 a month. You got all of it. Totally worth it. But but please go pirate the work of other people that are terrible because that's what it's for.
Yes.
And you could do this with the creeper, but then, the downside of that, of course, is that then they're not going to get the budget to make a really good movie. And again, there are tons and tons of people that work on, it's not just one person that works on these things. It's a whole
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily bad people. They're just struggling artists trying to get work,
Who happened to work for the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't know.
And there's still people that don't know, that, what he's done. Believe it or not. I mean, because people will use the argument, well, okay, but they knew he was a pedophile and they worked for him anyway. They might not have known. Like, that is a thing.
Right.
And they just, I mean, they took the work because it's work, or we don't know their circumstances. Maybe they really needed to take the work. Maybe they did know, but their family was starving. So what choice did they have? We don't know those people's
You don't
circumstances.
know
I'm
the
not
ins
going to
and
judge
out of
them.
everybody you work with or for.
Right. Exactly.
Any more than anyone else would. Just because
Yeah.
you work in a creative industry doesn't mean you know the ins and outs of the personal lives of the people you're working for any more than anyone else does in any other industry. Do you know your boss's personal life? No.
Right.
Well,
No, I don't. I don't
why do
want
you
to.
expect actors and creatives to know their directors' personal
Right.
lives? We don't.
Most of them don't even they don't really hang out outside of work, just like you don't hang out with your coworkers outside of work,
Right.
It just doesn't really happen that way. So here's my suggestion. Here's what I think we should do to fix this franchise. Okay. Somebody should steal the idea, and make instead of the creeper, I don't, cicada man, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
We've already
And
given you a new name for it.
right, you've
If you're
got a new
listening
name.
out there, writers, all you need to do is take the creature and make it Cicada Man.
Take the weird alien thing somewhere else on its body, not the head. Put it anywhere else, Put it on his penis. I don't know. Put it wherever you want.
Put it on his penis.
Put it on the front of the head. Put it on the front of the face. And instead of the back, just change it up just a little bit. Instead of wearing a trench coat and hat, he's wearing a
Something
baseball
far
cap.
more stylish that he didn't get at the monster store, the Monster Emporium.
Just anything else. Right, you put him in literally any other clothes if you insist that he wear clothes. Don't put clothes on him at all.
Have him run around naked as God intended him, like the Mothman.
Exactly.
Hairy junk just hanging out there.
Hanging all out there. And that's the horrifying part about him. Not only is he coming at you, but he's naked.
He's also nude.
Not where you right. That's not a position you want to be in. And for whatever reason, he's also oiled up.
Because that's how Ashley wants him, is oiled up and naked.
And but same thing. I think that the concept of it potentially being some type of alien parasite puppeteering these body parts is so far removed from the actual source material that you could fucking get away with it.
Right. Exactly.
So do that.
Throwing that out there, we know that there are creative souls listening.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to write this script for an all new refresher of the Jeepers Creepers monster, now known as Cicada Man.
And if you do it, I'm pretty sure this is how one of the fucking Kevin Smith's movie ended up getting made. It was a joke on a podcast, so I think we're going to be responsible for this movie. If you do it, if you decide to go for it and you're going to make this movie, let us know, and we will promote the Kickstarter here on the podcast.
Hell yeah.
Do due diligence to people that want to see the creeper be better and make it better. You know? You can.
I would be so proud to have had any kind of hand in the backstory of how this thing came to be a better creature than it is. Because what inspired me to look into this, to talk about it today, was just all of the holes in the plot that I saw, that I was like, I want to understand what the hell is going on with this thing and why it's driving a truck. The only thing I did find about the truck ultimately was that it is supposedly his pride and joy. It's a fully customized truck.
Oh.
It's self-driving, booby-trapped, and loaded with weapons, and has supernatural capabilities.
Oh, I didn't know all that about this truck.
Yes. That's what I found out about the truck.
Zach
so I guess if it's a really cool truck, he can keep the truck. But we need more information on this truck, too.
Okay, so
whoever's out there writing this story.
Yeah. Make the truck also its own, sentient being.
Yes. Like Christine or
Christine's probably the best.
Kit from
Oh, yeah. Who cares about Kit when there's Christine? Come on now. Make it its own.
So I want to hear more about the truck. I want it to make sense. Like, if he's got wings and a truck, why? That was my whole reason for even investigating this, and I didn't really get a satisfactory answer. So somebody write me a satisfactory answer.
4 movies, and there's still unanswered questions here.
Yes.
That's a problem.
And they're not good mysteries.
No.
They're just holes in the plot mysteries.
They're just stupid. And, like I said, I could forgive it if they made the first movie and they were like, we'll explain later. Movies do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that. They're just
nobody's explained these things.
No. So, and I'm not going to ask fucking Victor Salva because, fuck that guy,
Yeah. I don't want to talk to him. Somebody else needs to do a better job.
Exactly. Just someone else needs to just fucking scrap the whole thing, redo it completely, but with these fresh new ideas and make it work, make it good. It will be good. It'll be better than what we have now. Um, the lore to this is not that great. And I understand in horror, listen, as a horror aficionado, we understand that lore does not always make sense. We get
Right.
it.
Right.
But we at least explain it away by going, well, it's because it's part of a different timeline. Like there's at least that explanation. And there just doesn't really seem to be that here.
Or
Like
it's the mystery of the creature itself.
right, like the three movies, I believe, are all happening in the same universe. Like that's not it's still there's all these questions. I don't get it. So anyway, again, my idea, Cicada Man, do it. Somebody make it happen. I know one of you is going to take this
Right.
idea and run with it.
Right. And
Um,
if you've got to involve Roanoke and Centralia, by all means.
that would be really cool. You could
Yeah.
actually go film in
Yeah.
Centralia, and
Absolutely.
that would be, I mean, safely, of course, with all precautions. You're not supposed to go there, period, actually.
So
But
it's a public outcry to save the Jeepers Creepers franchise by doing it better.
just call it
Just our
Better
PSA.
Creeper. Just
Better Creeper.
the Better Creeper.
The
No, I
Keeper
think,
Creeper.
figure it out. Like I said, do something with it. I have written off the series personally completely. I probably won't be partaking unless someone, like I said, basically just creates a whole new creature, and just redoes it from the floor up. And it's unfortunate because it does have an
It has
interesting.
good bones.
It does. Yes, the bones. The bones are so good.
It has good bones.
But it just
Was not well fleshed out.
no. Everything else just failed. It just failed. It failed us as a community, and we shouldn't stand for this. Because he has become again a face of horror now. He's now one of those staple horror characters.
Right. So he needs a facelift. He needs
Yes.
definitely needs a new director and
Yeah.
some new writing behind it. Fill in the Swiss cheese holes in the plot story behind Jeepers Creepers, so we can actually be fans of the creeper.
Yeah, explain that truck.
I want to like it.
It's okay. Yeah, you're not the only one. I
Has
get
such
it.
good bones, but it just yeah.
People say they really
fell
like it.
short.
I don't believe them. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, really? You think that's like one
Yeah,
of the best
yeah.
movies?
Me too. I was like, but why?
Right. And I like some shit horror.
Me too.
And I also I agree. I wanted to enjoy it. The first one, I'm like, okay, I'll see where this goes. I did that with Art the Clown. Also, I watched first Terrifier. I
did not.
was
Clearly,
not impressed. I was
I've
like,
seen clips of it. That was enough to give me nightmares. I'm good. I'm good.
It does well. So I wasn't impressed. I'm like, I don't get this. Everybody loves it. I don't know why. So then I went back. I found out that he was. Well, we should probably do an Art the Clown episode. That'd be really cool. Well, you won't watch them.
That'll be someone else. Yeah, because I don't do clowns.
So I went back. I found out that he was actually part of a little indie film called All Hallows Eve, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch that. Maybe I'll get some story. Did not get any story. I'm like, all right. Then Terrifier 2 came out, and I fucking fell in love with the character. It was worth the wait to wait it out. And so sometimes it happens in horror franchises, right? You got something, you kind of want to like it. Eventually it does come around, makes you a follower, it grows on you, whatever. This has not done that ever. It's never done it for me. So hopefully someone will make the new movie and will do it for us. So
yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts on the creeper or anything?
No, but I mean, I want to hear other people's thoughts on it. So, find me on Facebook.
Yeah. Maybe someone's got the answer. I mean, that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll explain to me how he got wings to begin with. Maybe it wasn't
send me your scripts for a better version of the creeper.
You'll even star in it.
Hell yeah. I'm
I
down.
would. Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Make
We'll
a
cameo.
better indie film, something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
That's
the
a real
creature, the creeper
possibility.
has great bones. It has a great backstory. I love the idea behind it. There's just so many holes in the plot, and there's not enough clarity as to what specifically really his history is. And he clearly has a rich history. He comes around every 23 years, so um, that history should be well defined, and it isn't.
It sounds like the comic books got it more right, which, people do that. Like, people get into, like, there's like novels for like Halloween, and I've never read them. People get into that stuff. I'm not a person that, I watch horror movies because I want to watch a movie. Not that I don't read. I do. I just, like,
Right.
personally, I don't read fiction, like, period. I don't have time to. I
So
read.
if somebody's written a better graphic novel, which I understand there is a graphic novel that was written,
Right,
um,
adapt that.
yeah, an adaptation of the same storyline. Yeah, they need to
Right.
put it in a format that will do the movie justice.
Yeah, translate
Um,
it onto film
yeah,
and go from
translate it to
there.
film.
I
Write a
mean, at minimum.
screenplay based on the if there's a better existing graphic novel, then write a screenplay based on the graphic novel. But give us or a cinemaphiles what we deserve from Jeepers
Yeah,
Creepers.
please, please do. Right, justify its existence in the horror community, please, because I'm
Yes.
not getting it. Um, something. And if you, or someone feels like they have had a real life encounter with what they only could describe as the
The
creeper,
creeper.
let me know. Get a hold of me
Yes.
directly.
Have you
I
seen a cicada man?
Have you seen one? Yeah, I've had people absolutely say, it looked like Jeepers Creepers. It looked like the creeper. The creeper from Jeepers Creepers. That's what it looked like. These stories are plentiful. It definitely does help to give people a voice to anomalous phenomena, and what they've seen is to compare it to a
Well,
creature
and what
from a
I love
movie.
about the idea of what we're doing is that so many um, iconic horror characters have a basis in truth somewhere.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, there's always some type of real life inspiration somewhere.
Right. So,
Behind
like,
these.
bring those things to life.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Bring, like I said, just contact me. Tell me about your experience, and we can go from, just
I would
because you're
love
describing it.
to interview an encounter story behind a Jeepers Creepers like creature.
Yeah.
So
Yes, come on the show,
that'd
please.
be fun.
Just like I said, get a hold of me, and we can definitely, get you booked in if you want to talk about it on air. Or if you want complete anonymity, you can have that too. The world's your oyster. When it comes to the paranormal. Either way, get that story out there, man. It's important. It's important, and like I said, sometimes comparing it to something like a fictional character or creature,
Yeah. Tell us about
helps.
your small town cicada man.
Yes, crunching on them cicadas. So anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely give me feedback on this. This is different. And, I want to know if you liked it. I know that we talk about all kinds of real life monsters here. Mentioned that at the beginning of the episode. This one was definitely a different narrative. Maybe it was fun for you. Maybe you fucking hated it and you never want to hear us talk about a fictional creature again. That's fine. But we don't know unless you tell us, so get a hold of myself. You can get a hold of Zuul. All the links are going to be down in the description for you to be able to contact either one of us. And let me know what you thought. And maybe next season for this show, we will do it again. I would like to do it again, right? And it's my show and I can do what I want. I get that, but I'm not the one that has to listen to it. So you guys let me know what you want to hear. But with that being said, we'll see you guys back here at the next episode.